How's it going, Reject Nation? So we're going to watch today from Emergency Awesome, Black Panther 2 movie after Chadwick Boseman, Marvel Phase 4. I know there have been many statements that have been issued since the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Didn't really want to talk about this for a little while, but I feel okay talking about it right now, just at least see what some of the updates are. I think they were supposed to start filming this in February, so I'm curious to see, with all the new information that's come out since then, what maybe some of the steps moving forward might potentially be. Let's talk about it.
On your left.
So when they needed us, we could fight the battles.
I was watching like audience reaction videos of like they have these compilations on YouTube or like crowd reactions in theaters when this scene happened.
I'll never forget the first time I saw that.
Welcome back, everyone. I've gotten a lot of requests to do a new video for Marvel and Black Panther. I wanted to wait a little while to talk about the future of the Black Panther movies in Black Panther 2 after it had been announced that Chadwick Boseman passed away, just to pay him the proper respect and honor his life. I posted a couple tribute videos, and a lot of you had been asking me Black Panther 2 questions, what Marvel is going to do given how surprised and shocked everyone was with what happened. So I'll explain what they're doing right now. And on the other side of that, I'll explain what Marvel is definitely not going to do. Because there's been all kinds of speculation in the past week, just given how serious this has all been. May he rest in power. But the Black Panther character in the Black Panther franchise was very important to Chadwick Boseman's in real life, so I'll address how Marvel's going to handle that going forward. But the big stuff, if you didn't hear the news last week, Ryan Coogler, the director of the Black Panther movies, and someone who was personally very close to Chadwick Boseman, and Kevin Feige both issued very respectful, very touching statements honoring Chadwick Boseman's life and accomplishments.
I read all of Ryan Coogler's.
In his other work. If you
that was
haven't
beautiful.
seen Chadwick
That was very
Boseman's
touching.
other non-Marvel movies, he's fantastic in everything that he does, so be sure to check those out. He's played many iconic, fictional, and real-world historical heroes. But while they were doing that last week, they also revealed that they personally did not know about his condition. He had chosen to keep that
That's so surprising.
People he had worked with the past couple of years.
That's so surprising.
He'd been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer in 2016. That was around the time that Captain America Civil War was happening, right after he had just started to play Black Panther. He took it all like a champ. He spent all of his time between all of these movies undergoing intensive cancer treatments and surgeries. And when you rewatch him during the Black Panther movie, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, he looks amazing. You wouldn't think that anything was wrong with him just to see him like that. But this past year, his condition took a turn for the worst, and he still did appear in a recent Spike Lee movie earlier this year. But when he posted a video of himself looking extremely thin, it was clear that something was not right. But here's the thing, his family said that even just a week before he passed away, he was convinced that he was going to beat cancer and be able to start production on Black Panther 2 in the spring next year. He was convinced that he'd be able to gain all that weight back and get in shape in time to start the movie. They said he was so optimistic that it was going to be another amazing movie, just like the first Black Panther movie, which is inspiring. So as a result of that, though, both Ryan Coogler, who's still writing Black Panther 2 right now, and Kevin Feige's people at Marvel didn't have any kind of alternative plan for Black Panther 2 in place. They were also expecting Chadwick Boseman to come back as T'Challa and hit another home run again for the sequel.
Of course.
So one of the first things I saw a lot of you asking questions about on my tribute video last week was whether or not Marvel was planning on canceling the Black Panther 2 movie and just not doing it at all. And right now I can say that's not going to happen for a number of reasons. The first one, and probably the biggest one, being that Chadwick Boseman himself said that when he first took the role as Black Panther, he just thought it'd be a cool character, and he'd enjoy working with Marvel just like he enjoys working with all of his collaborators on other movies that he does. At least at first, he wasn't really thinking about what Black Panther the character meant to people all over the world, or what it could mean. Then when they were getting ready to release the movie and it turned into this big cultural phenomenon, it really hit him and he recognized the deeper meaning behind what they were doing and how important it was. This is actually a clip of him getting really choked up talking about it, working with little kids
they're going to show the clip.
Show the clip. He did a lot of cancer charities, so he got to meet a lot of these children who were looking forward to the Black Panther movie coming out, and it meant the world to them.
Throughout our filming, I was communicating with them. Knowing that they were both terminal, and what they said to me is, and their parents said they're trying to hold on till this movie comes.
Right.
And to a certain degree, you hear them say that, and you're like, wow, that's like, I gotta get up and go to the gym. I gotta get up and go to work. I gotta learn these lines. I gotta work on this accent. Seeing how devoted all of my castmates are, and knowing that will be something meaningful to them. But it's, to a certain degree, it's a humbling experience, because you're like, this can't mean that much to them, But seeing how the world has taken it on, seeing how the movement, how it's taken on a life of its own, I realized that they anticipated something great. And I think back now to a kid, and just, waiting for Christmas to come, waiting for my birthday to come, waiting for a toy that I was going to get a chance to experience, or a video game. I did live life waiting for those moments. And so it put me back in the mind of being a kid, just to experience those two little boys' anticipation of this movie. And when I found out that
Man, did none of his cast members know? That's surprising.
Yeah, it means a lot.
So watching him get choked up there, you also have to remember that while he was doing this, working with those little kids who were themselves suffering from cancer, he was also suffering from stage 3 cancer. So Marvel recognizes how much the Black Panther franchise means to everyone and how much it meant to Chadwick Boseman. They're not going to end that. Chadwick Boseman wouldn't want them to stop making Black Panther movies. But everything that they've said and that Ryan Coogler has said since he passed away has been that they want to be as respectful as possible and honor his memory the best way that they can. So that's why Marvel is not going to recast the T'Challa Black Panther character. Chadwick Boseman will always be the T'Challa of the MCU, the same way that Robert Downey Jr. will always be the Tony Stark of the MCU. You probably see where I'm going with this. Mantles are passed down in the comics. Wholesale identities are not. The clear path forward is to pass the mantle of Black Panther and the throne of Wakanda to T'Challa's heir apparent. Shuri is the heir apparent. Also in real life, Marvel just recently made all the Black Panther comics where Shuri takes the mantle of Black Panther free for download. But what is that story, and how do they address
did they now?
Wow.
passing away, T'Challa passing away so soon after Avengers Endgame, when they all just came back, snapped back by the Hulk's Infinity Gauntlet. You don't send a champ and a king like Black Panther out with a couple lines of dialogue. It has to be something epic. It has to have deep ramifications to the universe. And if we're talking about the MCU, the future Marvel movies, the other characters in the other movies like Thor, the other surviving Avengers, have to feel the weight of it. The two most common ways that you do this are, one, with a new big bad, which is the more obvious choice, and one of the more respectful but epic ways to do that would be to tie it to the debut of a major new X-Men or Fantastic Four villain like Namor or Doctor Doom.
Interesting.
Only speculation, but T'Challa winds up passing away at the beginning of Black Panther 2, preceding the events of the movie, defending Wakanda from an attack from one of these new villains. The second way that you can address his passing is the Avatar: The Last Airbender way. If you haven't seen that series, it's one of the best series of all time. It's on Netflix. Please go watch it. But after the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang wound up having a family with Katara, but died at the relatively young age of 16. But because he'd been stuck in the ice for 100 years, using the Avatar state to survive, he was really about 166. The reason why he passed away wasn't because of a big battle, it was just because of the physical stress of being in the Avatar state for such a long period of time, shortening his lifespan. So if there were ever an acceptable time to use old footage of Chadwick Boseman T'Challa, or reworking him to put him back in the movie, it would be to have Shuri speak to him, albeit briefly, inside the spirit world the way that he spoke to his father King T'Chaka after he had passed away. But one of the most important lines of dialogue that he has in any of the Marvel movies is in Captain America Civil War after his father dies, and this is very timely and relevant. He says that death is not the end in their culture, it's more of a stepping off point. But then what is the actual story of the Black Panther 2 movie if Shuri
they're
is
figuring
taking the
that out,
mantle
right?
and the major
They
new
have to.
X-Men or Fantastic Four villain is responsible for his death? Well, the basic premise of the movie would be mostly how Shuri and the rest of the Marvel characters deal with the tragedy of his death, and Shuri learning what it means to be the Black Panther and what it means to be Queen of Wakanda. So you're introducing all this new MCU, X-Men, Fantastic Four canon, and you're also spinning on some of the things that they did during the first film with Shuri's character. And like I said, they've actually just done a version of this in another Marvel movie. If it wasn't clear, Shuri in the MCU is the exact same age as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. The same thing just happened to him in Spider-Man Far From Home. He had to deal with the death of Iron Man, and Iron Man effectively passed the mantle to him via the glasses. But everyone let me know in the comments, how do you want Marvel to handle Chadwick Boseman's passing during Black Panther 2? And of course there would be an
I'm
epic
really not
Stanley
sure.
tribute at the beginning and the end of the movie.
I'm
during
really
the
not
credits.
sure,
the
man.
Stanley opening credits were kind of comedic because Stanley's cameos were all very comedic. The one that they would do for Chadwick Boseman would be much more serious and in the tone of a Black Panther character. Everyone be sure to pay him tribute in the comments. May he rest in power. You can click here for both of my Chadwick Boseman tribute videos too. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.
Wow. Okie dokie. Now, I'm a little bit confused. Were they... He wasn't confirming that they would be for sure passing the mantle, right? I mean, to me, that makes the most sense. I mean, not confirming they passed the mantle, but were they confirming that there wouldn't be a recasting for T'Challa?
They did say that, he is our T'Challa for this world, and we're going to retire that, identity and pass the mantle of Black Panther along.
Okay, that's perfect. Because I didn't actually read Kevin Feige's. I read all of Ryan Coogler's. So I wasn't really sure what was going on, what Kevin Feige at Marvel was actually saying. I really still think they should hold off on this movie for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I would absolutely hate if they were like, we gotta schedule it a deadline to meet it. We gotta start shooting this by next year, guys. We already had something slated. I don't think that's the case they're gonna go down. I feel like they would be wise enough to know that we need a brand new screenplay first off. Ryan Coogler spent a long time making the Black Panther 2 script. In this video, he says they're supposed to start shooting in spring, and that's what I heard beforehand too. This is gonna be very sensitive material you have to handle. Take as many years as you need to make sure you can craft this. Please do not rush this at all. I do think Shuri is the best option to go. It seems like it would be the most natural way to do it. And I feel like people would be accepting and understanding of that, and I feel like people would be in support of it. Granted, if this was like the Black Panther 2 while Chadwick Boseman was still alive, I don't think people would be for it. But everyone who's going to watch this movie is aware of the circumstances and the situation.
Yeah.
So I think the most natural way for this story to continue on, and I do agree in this video, I do think Chadwick Boseman would not want this franchise to end.
No, especially not after the impact it had on culture,
I think there's a reason why he decided to keep his battle with cancer a really private thing, almost to the point where it was a secret. Yeah. I do think that they should continue it. I feel like that's what Chadwick Boseman would want. And yeah, passing along to Shuri is just the most natural transgression you could do for the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally within the construction of their society that would probably happen. And I agree. It's like, I feel like people would be on board with that, if this hadn't happened, if time were different. I feel like people would be on board with Shuri after a few Chadwick Boseman outings or something like that. But yeah, given the circumstances, I feel like they could make this an opportunity to honor him in a really beautiful way, embrace the circumstances, because that's all you can do. And I feel like Marvel often gives me the impression, out of all the movie studios making these big tentpole properties, they do care about the people who make them and having a humanity around everything that they do. Take this off the schedule right now and just let it gracefully develop into what it needs to develop into, because also everyone's still grieving. The last thing on people's minds should be cracking the plot for Black Panther 2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even honestly like this whole thing with like, oh, how do we make it more tied in with the other parts of the franchise, some X-Men villains or something like that. While that might coincide a little bit more with the comics, just from like, if I just step outside of myself from the whole thing of losing Chadwick Boseman and all that, I'm not a big fan of that idea. Honestly, I'm not. Might be cooler down the road or something, but especially for Black Panther 2, with the way Black Panther 1 was crafted, where all the relationships were so personally intertwined with T'Challa.
Yeah.
That's one of the beautiful things about the storytelling of that movie, is that you have a lot of supporting characters, and a lot of them, most of them, have a pretty solid, deep connection with T'Challa. And arguably, I mean, I don't think there's really an argument, Shuri had it the strongest with him in terms of a personal connection. Passing on to Shuri would be great. I'm actually pretty surprised to learn. I don't remember what Ryan Coogler said, if he knew or didn't know, but for like Kevin Feige, for them to not be made aware of that is actually pretty surprising stuff to me. It seemed like he really did believe he could beat this. Family members did report that like a week before he passed away, that he was really confident he could beat this, and it seemed like he carried that mentality all these years that we've seen him on screen in a wide variety of roles, Black Panther included. That makes it really just extra heartbreaking. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is I've been sitting here thinking to myself, like, okay, maybe, you know, he had an inner circle of people who knew, dedicated to his career, you might think, and I'm not trying to dog anybody for not, but yeah, I could imagine a world in which he let them know so that they could film maybe a couple things and create a segue. It's almost more beautiful, that he just went for it 100%.
Yeah.
And let life take its course. I hope nobody's upset about that. It's weird. It's like I
was some business person.
Yeah, it's like because I was really surprised to hear that. It's all the more inspiring that he just went forward and just believed.
Yeah, man, I feel like if someone's annoyed, they better be wise enough to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah. So it's like they are going to have to adjust for it, but I feel like they can pay some really beautiful respect as well in doing so when the time is right.
Yeah, of course.
They can make Black Panther 2 its own thing, but also a tribute to his life. And that property, that franchise, can take on a new quality because it is sort of important in a different way among the Marvel films, and that love and that passion does resonate out of it. Right now, I feel like we should just give it a rest.
The last thing I'll say is I don't blame him for keeping this as private as possible. It's his own personal thing that he had to deal with, first off. And B, from what we know about how media works, if this got out there, like, the best thing he could do is just not let it consume his life in every single area. Yeah. And if this was like the most public of information, there would constantly be
everywhere.
Like, it would be the shining light on Chadwick Boseman about him. Like, his identity would be so much associated with his cancer struggle. It would just be so much leading up to it. We know how the media works. It would be nonstop, where so much of his image would be associated with suffering and having to deal with this.
And look how brave you are.
He needed to just focus on doing what he needed to do while he had time on this earth. I think that's actually really beautiful how he handled that. The fact that he didn't make that information be the driving force of his image in his personal life, so that way he could just do the work and be remembered for the legacy of his art.
And so that he could just live, without, having people, even on a personal level, I would imagine, cast that sort of pall. Because, once people know, they behave differently. Yeah. And so, like, it seems like, in a way, he got to live his best life possible for as long as possible. And that's very inspiring.
It's inspiring. It's sad, because obviously a lot of us weren't, like, prepped for it. And I feel, of course, even way worse for the people who personally knew the guy, who weren't aware of this. I can imagine how devastating this was for them, who had no way to prepare themselves for something like this. But I'm glad he chose the path he did to keep this as private as possible. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. What do you think they should do for Black Panther 2? Why not talk about it? Be respectful in the comments. Subscribe, click that notification bell, and I do want to give a Patron of the Day shout out to someone. Gene Jeter. He's a talented creative artist who does a lot of experimental videos. You might have seen Tyrone Magnus even react to some of his videos as well. He recently put out one of his more artistic sort of like mood pieces, NYC vlog breakup. This time during COVID, there's been a lot of people who have been dealing with a lot of harsh breakups lately. I think that, sometimes people might not want to be reminded of it, but I think there's this other side in our life where we want to feel understood or identify, feel some type of cathartic release. I feel like this video can be a good video to check out if you've been through a breakup, or if you're going through one. It could be something great for you to identify with.
Harmonize within your heartstrings.
So, it's like when you want to listen to a piece of music that, can translate or communicate your feelings. That's kind of what I associated this video with being like. So you can go check it out. There's a link in the description box. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Gene, for putting this together.
Love you, Gene.
See you guys soon.